What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Look for the Good. I'm your host, Carrie Rowan, mindset strategist and story coach, and I love sharing nuggets of wisdom about the stories that we tell each other, and more importantly, those stories that we tell ourselves. And you can join me and my special guests as we share our personal stories of strength and triumph every week here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. And you can listen online on your mobile device, in your car, or even ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio. And tune in every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern to get real stories and tips on how to turn your story and your life around. And evolve with us as we unite humankind with universal love. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I have Cynthia waiting in the wings. Hello, Cynthia.
Hi, Carrie. Thanks so much for having me today.
So good to have you here with us today. And you guys know I love talking about stories. I am a story strategist, right? And so I love to dig into those stories because those stories are so important. They're like a little microcosm of our world, right? In those stories is hidden so much: who we are, who we aren't, our beliefs, and all the things that we've been through, our experiences. And we do so many different things with stories. And today I really love to focus on our resilience story, right? We're going to come on with Cynthia, and she's got some incredible stories to share. And resilience is so powerful, right? It's one of those skills. They talk about building resilient children. I have a whole chapter in my book that I've dedicated to resilience. And it reminds me sort of also kind of weaved in with that comeback story, right? And that's what we talk a lot about here. The story of the good, the bad, the ugly, and all the things we had to get over to get right where we are here today, right? Like everybody loves the comeback story, the overcomer story, if you will. And so resilience has to be weaved into that story, right? Because we can't get over those things if we aren't resilient, if we don't have that strength, if we haven't sort of built that muscle. I feel like that story has a little muscle to it. But it's really when we dig into those hardest stories that we find that we are more resilient, we are stronger than we ever knew that we were. And one thing I know for sure, and I love to talk about, is that within that hardest story, within that worst story, when a client comes to me and says that they've got this awful story, they just can't share it, right? It's laced with lace and guilt and all those lower vibe emotions. I know we're on the brink of something huge. I know we're on the brink of a breakthrough because it's within those darkest, those hardest stories, which we're going to talk about today, that we find our superpower. That's where our superpower lies. And I think I can be bold enough to say that one of Cynthia's superpowers here today is resilience. So welcome again, Cynthia. So good to have you here. Can I read your bio?
So
You're so welcome.
Oh,
Can I read your bio? Because it's so fun to have somebody. I'm not going to read the long one, just the short one.
Sure.
But if you guys want the whole scoop, I'll post it up on the show notes. So Cynthia has been in the field of health and wellness for over 20 years. Cynthia is a health and wellness coach and the founder of her corporate wellness presentation business, Work Well Webinars, where she delivers live wellness presentations virtually and in person to companies all over the country. And so I love what you do. And you and I met at the chamber, and it was just such a beautiful synchronistic meeting. I feel like we have so much in common. We really talk the same language. So tell us a little bit about, why resilience, why your resilience story is really something that shines out strong for you.
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. So resilience is a topic that I have been talking about for many years, both through the work I was doing for a wellness consulting firm, as well as my work one-on-one with clients, as well as my group work. I think when the pandemic hit, we heard more about that term resilience. I'm not sure if you noticed that, Carrie, but
Yes,
you remember
for
resilience
sure.
was something that we just heard more and more about. And I think it became a kind of issue that people realize is very important. Resilience is a, in my opinion, something that can be developed. People will say to me, well, I'm just not a resilient person. But resilience, in my opinion, is something that actually can grow with time based on a lot of different strategies that I actually work with people on.
I love that. Like I was saying in my little intro, is like it's a muscle, and people don't think
It's a
it's a
muscle.
muscle, but it is a muscle,
Exactly.
right? It's a
It's a
muscle,
muscle.
and but it needs to be worked. Like we don't even realize it. Like if you were to say to somebody, "Okay, here's two of my top tips to build your resilience," what would you tell them?
Yeah. So, you know what? I don't think it's the same for all people. I think everyone is so different in terms of how they most can benefit from kind of building their own toolbox of resilience
Mm,
strategies. Some of my clients tell me, meditation has been life-changing, for instance, in terms of helping them to focus on their priorities in life and trying to kind of push away those negative thoughts that often surface, those gremlins, we like to call it. But I think for many people, what I have found is just really focusing on something as simple as their community. Many times people will say to me, just leaning on my friends and family during these times of struggle has been so, so incredibly helpful. So I'm a big fan of the Blue Zones. I just got certified in the Blue Zones training. And you probably know a lot about the Blue Zones, Carrie, but one of their themes is how important it is to have a community. And I think in many neighborhoods or even areas of the country, we don't have that sense of community that we often see in these blue zone communities. And I always tell my clients, like, make sure you rely on your friends and family right now. There's no need to just kind of do this on your own. It's important to
yeah.
seek that support.
I love that. Listen, I didn't even know there was a Blue Zone certification because I might have even gotten it because I love the Blue
Oh,
Zones,
yeah.
and I
It's
love talk.
fascinating.
It's so fascinating. I love talking about it because and that's one of the things I always pick out is the community that they talk about these elders, right? And if people don't know what that
Yes.
is it's going to the different zones in the world where people live to
Hmm.
100, right? And it's
Yes.
peeling back the layer. This guy did this research. I don't remember his name. You probably do.
Dan Buettner.
Yeah, he did
Yeah,
all
he's
this
amazing.
research. He is so unbelievable. I love it. And there's a Netflix show that you can watch if you're curious about it.
Yeah.
Um, and they peel back the layers on why these places, what is it, what makes them
Yes.
special. And I think probably all of them would say that the social community was one of the
So
biggest
important.
things. Yeah,
So important.
building that community. One of the things I loved about really was the younger generation supporting the older generations and including them in the family dinners and everybody
Yes.
making this part of the social life, right? Some of them included
Yes.
things like making their own. I remember the Italian one. I think maybe it was Sardinia, where they made the
Yeah, Sardinia.
minestrone soup, and then she'd be
Yes.
rolling out the dough on the rock, right, and making all
Yes.
these grains, which aren't like our grains, and it
Yes.
was all part of it. And then the Greeks would bring their special wine that they brought, that they grew themselves into that. But it all centered around that. It centered around the community, just like you're saying,
Definitely.
right? And
So
what
important for resilience building.
so
So important.
important. And if you go back to that study that Harvard did, the longest
Oh,
standing
yeah.
study ever, that says that it's community, it's the number of people that you have around you, it's the quality of your relationships
Hmm.
that determine the
No
quality of your
question.
life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love
It's
that.
super interesting.
So interesting. I love the blue zones. We're going to have to talk more about that offline.
Oh,
And
yeah. I'd love to.
so I would love, we love sharing our personal stories, as I had mentioned. Can you share your story about, well, you had so many, but the one that really makes you think the word, where you're really embodying resilience of something that happened to
Mm.
you that you had to move past?
Mm. Yeah, let me think about this. I mean, it's interesting. If I think about some stories of resilience, I've talked about resilience many times, and I often draw upon the time I almost lost my life about 10 years ago, where my heart went to 16 beats a minute. Or I talk about a time when I had a very, very scary situation where I fell and I fractured my arm, and it just is completely in many, many pieces. I'm dealing with that now, but um, I guess I want to share a story that happened more recently, actually two
Okay.
weeks ago, believe it or not. I think any parent could relate to this. I received a very scary phone call from my daughter. She happened to be in Dublin, Ireland, and she was crying. I could barely understand her. And she told me she was in the hospital and she was having all kinds of strange symptoms. Couldn't feel her hands, face was tingling, lips were swollen. She has very serious allergies. So the first reaction was she must have a food allergy right now. This is dangerous. I was really happy she was in the hospital because that's where she needed to be. But of course, I was very, very nervous. Well, a couple of hours later, she called me back and she said, the symptoms are not going away. I don't think it's a food allergy. You need to come to Ireland as soon as possible. I'm going to be alone. My friends are all leaving. So, Carrie, I'm sure you can just feel
Oh
yourself
my
getting
God,
nervous when you
yes.
hear this kind of a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I literally packed my bag in maybe 30 minutes. My husband drove me to the airport. I jumped on the next plane to Dublin and I arrived at 7 a.m. Dublin time, 3 a.m. our time. And I spent 24 hours in the hospital with her. And it was one of the scariest experiences of my life. They could not determine what was going on with her. But I guess I tell this story because what it made me realize was that over the years, as I've lived through some incredibly scary situations, I really think I've learned how to kind of control my emotions and kind of how to deal with the situation in a way that, allows me to move forward versus kind of freezes me in fear, which can happen
Mm.
in many situations.
Yeah.
I was beyond nerve. I was beyond scared. I mean, I can't even describe what it felt like to be in that plane and just the whole thing. I'm not going to see her for how many hours, and because it was very serious. But I think all the work I had been doing over the past, let's just say 10 years or so around resilience, teaching resilience, developing a resilience coach training program, and talking with groups and individuals about resilience strategies, I applied them to myself. And it helped me to get through that incredibly challenging time. And I knew that I had to be strong for my daughter because I
Yeah.
knew I couldn't show up there hysterical crying during that time. She needed me to be strong and show support, even though inside I was just a basket case. But I
Right.
knew I had to be strong. And it was really a powerful experience that I reflected on later on when I returned to the United States. And I kind of thought about the experience and I said, wow, I think I did that pretty well. You know what I'm saying? Like it was very, very scary.
That you gave me chills when you were explaining that because I could just imagine myself on that plane with that feeling, not knowing. And it's so
Exactly.
right. And it's so scary when it's our child because we're just so
Oh,
connected to them, especially as the mom. I
so
mean, we
connected.
still have their cells in our body. We pretty much feel what they feel, right? It's like we are
100%.
so connected. Um,
100%.
yeah.
And
And
it's
it's,
interesting because my twin sister asked me last week when she saw me, which was funny, she asked me this. She said, do you think your resilience work helped you when you were dealing in Ireland? And
wow.
I said, actually, yeah, it's funny you bring that up because yeah, I was thinking the same thing. So doing things like, mindset shifts, positive affirmations, meditation, visualization, body scans, all those
Yep.
things, right?
Yep.
I really just decided I needed to make sure I was in like the best mindset I could be in.
And isn't it funny? I love the saying, we teach that which we need to learn, right? Like we're
So true.
always teaching. And there's so many things that we might be like, oh, yeah, I know that. Like, oh, yeah, I went to a seminar. I know that, right? And some things like break down to the simplistic, like we all know those things you just mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it comes down to, do you practice that? We might know it up here,
Exactly.
but if we're not practicing it in our body every single day and we're really embedding that into who we are and our nervous system knows it, we don't really
Definitely.
know it, right? It's like,
It's so true.
it's so like, it makes me think of like the practice of gratitude. Like if I tell a client, okay, here's some of the things I want you to do and let's practice some gratitude. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
practice gratitude. What do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's such a misconception because Oh, of course I'm grateful when good things happen, but that's not really practicing something, right? It's like
Mm,
intentionally bringing that into your system. Intentionally, maybe you do it with a cup of coffee or tea in the morning where you actually sit and name two or three things that you are appreciative of, right? So it's so much more. It's actually in the practice that we become stronger.
definitely. No question.
Yeah, that's
No
that's a
question.
really really, and I hope your
Yeah,
daughter
I
is
know.
okay. And you said you're going to see her in
Thank
an hour,
you.
so
Yes. Thank you. Yes, for sure.
so she's back
Yeah.
from Ireland. Well, you got to go to Ireland. I
Yeah.
hope you got to have some fun once she was out of
Oh
the
no.
woods.
No fun. No fun at all. Unfortunately. No, we came back together. So
Oh, good.
yeah, it
Oh,
was
good.
yeah.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you
But
wrapped her up and brought her
yeah.
home.
Yeah, yeah. But one thing that we talked about a lot in my resilience trainings was what we describe as raw coping power, which I think is a really interesting term. But it's
I like that.
basically something that this was, in our opinion, that we all have inside of us. We all have raw coping power. We all have that inner resilience that sometimes people don't even recognize. And sometimes it takes other people to identify that. And that's what I do in my resilience coaching. I help my clients to see that they actually do have resilience. And
Yeah,
then I help them to identify, what it is I'm talking about. And
I
it's
love
really
that.
powerful to see them kind of shift and say, okay, I guess I do have resilience. I guess I am actually a strong person.
I love that. And I talk, it's the same thing I talk about, but I just use, the metaphor of the story, right? Because a lot of times we can't see that we're resilient, we're strong inside that story, but our friends can see it. That's why we need a coach,
Exactly.
right? That's why Cynthia and I are here to look at that and say, now, wait a second. Here's what I see, the strength in you from that story, right? Which
Yes.
is what I said in the beginning. When somebody comes to me with an awful story, I know we're on the brink of something because I know in that story lies their superpower. They just can't see it because they're too wrapped up in the emotion or whatever the reason is, doesn't matter. I love that you're a beautiful reflection for them, to show them that, hey, here's where you were resilient. And I love that raw coping power. That's cool.
Yeah, there's a book called Raw Coping Power too that you can pick up.
I
Get it on
was
Amazon.
really?
It's a great, great, great book. That's what we use for all our trainings. That was written by Dr. Joel Bennett. He's the person that owned the company that I worked for about 5 years.
Wow, I love that because we do. We all have it. We wouldn't survive as a species if we didn't have it, right?
No, we wouldn't. For sure.
And
For
sometimes
sure.
we just need help finding that. That's really really beautiful, and I'm glad that story worked out. And you said so many amazing things in there about teaching all these beautiful things that you teach within your seminars. What would you say right now? We're talking about resilience, and resilience is so important for everybody, whether it's a work situation, a personal situation. You mentioned a personal situation. How can people take that same like inner raw knowing, like I have coping power, and apply it to a work situation that's sticky for them?
Yeah, that's a great question, Carrie. I do a lot of talks for companies on the topic of corporate empathy and what we describe as heart-centered leadership. So the way the leaders are actually interacting with the employees. Many employees are struggling. They're maybe struggling a lot in their personal life. Maybe they're struggling at work, with their coworkers, or even with the work demands. Many people are burned out. They are just working around the clock. That's another talk I do a lot of, is work-life balance. Just people are working many, many more hours than they used to, and really trying to focus on the employees' mental health is super important for resilience. And there's a lot of ways to do that, be it, my workshops, webinars from that I do or anyone does, or, providing support, work-life balance, flexible workplace, that kind of thing. If an employee says, oh, you know what, I really, really need time to deal with my young children, can I alter my work hours? Just really being that leader or manager or supervisor that's thinking kind of beyond the workplace is, in my opinion, super important for
Hmm.
resilience building and decreasing stress that can accumulate so much. I always think about stress can sometimes be positive. It can be benefits from stress, but when it's long term
Yeah.
and it's chronic, it's not the best situation for many
Yeah,
reasons.
so bad for us. We weren't designed to be like that,
No.
right? Like I always tell people, look at the animals, like watch the animals in the wild. They're out there grazing. A tiger comes along. fight or flight, they run, but then 5 minutes later, they're back out grazing. We're not back
Yeah,
out grazing, right? We're carrying,
exactly.
like what you said, a couple really important things. We're carrying that around and we let things stack, like emotional stacking, right?
Definitely.
And I like to think of it as the emotional backpack. So unless you have a way to unload that emotional backpack, it's either going to break your back or it's going to explode at some point. It's going to break off your, right? It's so if you, I love the thought of being proactive, right? We need to be
Mm,
proactive. We need to get out
super important.
ahead, right? Totally important. Have practice in place so that you can get out ahead of that, so you can not do that emotional stacking. I think it's very common for kids to do that. And unless they're taught not to, they're going to carry that into adulthood, right? And then be one of those employees who has the emotional stacking like we all do.
Yes, so true.
So, what is your favorite way? I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'm going to be like, "Ooh, we're going to break." What's your favorite way to help to teach people how to release that emotional, that stacked up emotion? And don't answer me now because we're going to make people wait for the answer. We'll be right back after a quick break. Hold on tight. We'll be right back with Cynthia. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Look for the Good. I'm here with Cynthia Conigliaro, and we are having the best conversation. I love what we were talking about is that backpack, right? The emotional stacking. And how do we release that, right? And I love just really what you're talking about is teaching companies and this empathy training that you do is really powerful. I love that. And also the burnout stuff is really big right now. Talk to us a little bit about what your philosophy on that is.
Yeah. So, in terms of the accumulation of stress, as you're asking about, you
And
know,
everything you teach, really, we were
yeah,
talking a little bit on the break
yeah,
about mind body connection. And I think that's
yeah,
really
definitely.
important.
Yeah, the mind-body connection is so important. And, when I'm talking with people, I'm trying often to focus on both mind and body, and they're so interrelated. If I have a client who's really struggling with some mental health issues, I think it's also important to really address what's going on in that person's environment, her social support, his or her social support, as well as what is he or she doing physically? Meaning, is this person practicing proper sleep hygiene? Or is this person, burning the candle at both ends? Sleep to me is a non negotiable. I do a lot of webinars on sleep strategies, and I've done a lot of research on that very topic. Sleep is so, so incredibly important for body and mind. And I really look at what's going on in terms of what is this person doing to support his or her physical health? How much exercise is he or she doing? What is he or she eating? Just looking at every aspect of wellness, I think that's super important rather than just maybe focusing on one particular area. And many times I think people need some direction and they sometimes don't even realize how much stress they're holding within them. They may be having, the symptoms like headaches or stomach aches or insomnia, or maybe they'll say, you know what, I'm finding myself just drinking a little more than I used to. So all of those kind of symptoms are examples that this person is overstressed and in need of some support. That can be really important to let them know how important it is to notice these symptoms that often crop up.
Ooh, that's really, really important. Yeah, and I love what you said about sleep because, sleep is like 85% of our mental health. And I
So
don't think
important.
people realize that. But if you think about how you feel after you don't sleep well, you're not thinking
Oh,
straight. We probably shouldn't even be
oh,
driving our
very much.
cars when we're like that, right?
Oh, it's so true. Oh, and they've found that there's been more accidents. Yeah. And people always ask me, what are your top sleep strategies? And I have to say, if I had to kind of pare it down, I would say trying to go to bed the same time every night, if you can, plus or minus a few minutes. Of course, you can't be perfect, but ideally have a schedule.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know will go to bed at midnight and then the next day, 9 o'clock, and that, 9 o'clock. And just trying to have a similar sleep schedule, waking up at the same time, getting up at the same time, where you get to the point where you don't need an alarm. Your body
Yeah.
is so set. And also getting that morning light, super important for setting the circadian rhythm. Even when it's a cloudy day, I would tell my clients go out at least 5 minutes, ideally 15 or more,
Yeah.
and try to go out as early as possible. Super, super helpful. And I guess the third thing would be I talk to a lot of women going through menopause, And when you're dealing with issues like those, mid-morning wake ups, 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, a lot of women wake up at that time, and men too, is, not staying in the bed, actually getting out of the bed for about 10 minutes and maybe reading a book or practicing some meditation, some breathing, just so you can train your mind not to get worked up that you are a bad sleeper. Because you don't want to think of yourself as a bad sleeper. You don't want to have that label
Yeah.
because you are not a label. That's the same thing I tell my emotional eating clients. You are not a label. You're not an emotional eater. That's a bad habit to get into, to kind of label yourself in a negative way. So
Yeah.
just a couple tips.
I love that. It's because it's just a story, right?
It's
That's
just a story.
it's just a story. And is it really true? No, you're not that all the time. So how can you just be that label? I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah, not giving yourself a label. And I was thinking in my mind before you said it was the whole menopause thing, because that is so huge. That
Huge.
disrupts not just physically, that's everything. That's emotionally, sleep, hormone fluctuations, what we eat, what we don't eat. Like that has so many details to it.
So many implications.
So many implications. And I actually did a show with a gal one time who created this collagen chew for menopausal women that has all the stuff in it that we need. So sometimes we do need a little something to help the body calm a little bit more. But I love everything you were saying, because that's all within our reach, right?
Oh,
We
definitely.
right? I love that. And the tip, like getting out of bed, as opposed to, the thrashing that we can do. And then like
Yes.
my tip to, I just don't look at the clock. If I wake up in the middle of the night, I
That's another great tip. Yep.
do not, because then my mind
Yes.
starts going, oh my God, it's 2 o'clock. You got to get up tomorrow. It starts thinking about everything I have to do. And then that
Exactly.
anxiety spiral starts, right?
Exactly. Yep. That's a great tip. Keep the clock the other direction.
Yeah. Plus it's like an annoying red light or a blue light, which is not good for us
Exactly.
anyways, right?
Yes.
I love
Exactly.
that. I love
So
what you said.
true.
And it sounds simple, but again, like we said before, it might seem simple, but do you do it? Right?
I
Like
know. That's the thing.
right?
Yeah. I
How do you
know.
get
It's
yourself
such an
to start
important
it?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you see the benefits of it, like I've been focused on my sleep hygiene for probably about 10 years now. I mean, I really make it a priority. I really do.
Yeah.
And I have to say my sleep is what I would describe as excellent now, and that's only because I've made it such a priority, if that makes sense. Now that doesn't mean that I never have like a bad night's sleep. Of course, I've had nights when I wake up and everything else, but I've been able to train myself to really, in my opinion, sleep very well. And that's something I'm working with my clients a lot on because so many people struggle with sleep. And that's one of my most requested webinars is sleep strategies for
Is it?
lifestyles.
I
Yeah.
believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can already think of people in my head. One of them
Yeah.
being my daughter, who is like
Yeah.
such the
Teenagers.
night owl.
Oh, teenagers. I know.
It's crazy. And then she has to get up for work the next morning.
Yeah.
And I can always tell.
It's such a problem.
It
I,
is.
I get really upset when I think about how social media has impacted the younger generation because I have two of them and I know they're on social media until all hours of the night. And
Yeah.
that's really a whole
Yeah.
nother topic that we would need many hours for.
We we would, really would. But yeah, but it's that addiction. Like, we're watching a show together last night and I keep looking over and she's like watching the show like this. And I'm like, no, multiple screens is even worse. Put that
Yes.
down. Let's just watch the
Yes.
show together, right? You can't, how can you know what's going on? She's half talking to me, half looking at this thing. Yeah. So we're going to have to do a whole nother follow up on that, Cynthia.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, I love talking with the younger generation about it. I actually just went to Boston College and I presented. It was called Life After BC. So I talked
Ooh.
about wellness strategies for college students after they are launched and in the real world, so to speak. And I talked to Tufts as well. And I love talking with college students because I think they really are in need of this education.
Yeah, they are. From somebody
They
other
are.
than us, their moms.
Yes, well, that's exactly. They don't listen to their mom.
Yeah. They can't hear it from us. My kids will be like, oh, Mom, there I go with my stuff again, like
Right.
whatever, calming or meditation or whatever.
Yeah,
And I
they
was like,
roll their eyes.
they roll their eyes. I'm like, some
Yeah.
people actually pay me for my advice.
Yeah, right? Exactly. I
And you can
know.
have it all for free. Like, I'd be
Right.
soaking that up, but I get it. They have to
Yeah.
hear it. I have a friend of mine who's a pediatrician. She's pounded that into my head. Carrie, they can't hear it from you. They have to hear
No,
it
they
from
really
right?
can't. They really can't.
Yeah.
But you know what I believe, Carrie? They'll thank us later. They'll get it
It's true.
later.
You know what I noticed too? It's getting in there. It reminds me of that old Zen proverb about watering the bamboo. Like they put the seed and you keep watering
Mm,
it and you never see it for the longest time. And the person keeps going like, oh, all right, I'm just going to keep believing. I'm going to keep watering. I believe it's doing something. And for
mm,
years, it never sprouted anything until all of a sudden one day, right? It sprouts. Same thing with the
I
kids. Like,
love that. I love that
right?
metaphor.
The Zen proverb about that.
It's so good.
And it's like, but I've heard them saying what I might say. Like I've heard them giving advice to friends. And I was like quietly
Mm,
just observing, like, huh, it is
right.
getting in there,
I love that.
right? You got it.
I love that. They're just not showing you.
Exactly. Keep watering the bamboo, everybody. Um,
Love
so
that.
so good, so good. So we've talked about so many incredible things. I love also that you said. So I'm thinking about women. I'm thinking about overworking. I'm thinking about all the things we're going through, and then you said something too about burnout because I think burnout is more of a female thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Interesting. Burnout's one of my other most requested webinars. Interesting you say it's more of a women thing. I never thought about that, to tell you the truth, whether or not there's a female male kind of balance with that. But I would say I can see how it could be more female in that women often have many roles they're juggling, be it like managing the house typically. I shouldn't say always, because many times men are doing that
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
I think the roles are blurring a little bit more, which in my opinion is great. I think many more men are taking on the more traditionally female responsibilities. So I think burnout is just an issue for many people. Now that many of us are working from home or a hybrid environment, what they're finding is people are actually overworking, meaning those lines between work and home are blurred.
Yeah.
And many people will say to me, I sometimes just can't turn it off. Like I'll go back on my computer on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. I'll keep working on that presentation because it's almost like way back when we went into the office, we typically would close all of our thoughts around work. Now we have our laptops, we have our iPads, we even have our phones to look at and see, do we have another email from that client? Do I have to respond? And many people, including myself, feel that pressure to respond.
Yeah.
And if I don't respond in a way that I think is like an appropriate amount of time, I kind of feel the anxiety build. Do you know what I'm saying?
I
And
totally
I
know what you're
know,
saying.
right? Like if I'm away at a conference or if I'm, doing like back-to-back presentations for 4 hours and I haven't had a chance to even like check my emails, I know that night I'm going to feel, shoot, have I been like, am I now way behind? Have I been
Yeah.
negligent with all these kind of
Yeah.
things? So it's really interesting. So I think burnout is something that everyone can feel.
Yeah. Total, even as entrepreneurs, right? Like
Oh, that's a whole nother story.
right. I'm on last night doing my one last, webinar until 8:15 p.m. I'm exhausted. I've been working all
Yeah.
day doing everything else we do, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I totally feel that. And I have to really find a way to reel myself back in on that because
A
it's,
hundred percent.
this is my office. It's in my house, right?
100%.
I mean, in some ways it can be great. I can go change the laundry upstairs quick. But in a way, it's not because it really does encourage overworking. I can totally see how it affects everybody that way because you can't get away from it. Like you said, you used to be able to shut it down. Now your phone's
Yeah.
dinging at you. Ooh, that client's
Oh,
getting
yeah.
back to me at 9 p.m. Ooh,
Yeah.
better get back within 24 hours, right? All those stories we tell ourselves in our head about what we need to do, what we have to do, how we have to be perfect doing it all too. I mean, tell me what your thoughts are because I know you're a creative person. I always use creativity to break me out of that. I find it's the one thing that really takes my mind and brings it completely somewhere else. I can walk out of here, and when I walk out of this room is my music room, thank goodness.
I
And
see a guitar back there.
I
I
can
see
sit,
that.
my piano's right there outside those two doors, and I can go sit there. So I'm building that more into my schedule because I need that. And then I feel myself come back to me. Do you know what I mean? Talk about
A
something
hundred
that,
percent.
yeah, let's talk about a little bit about something that works for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, Carrie, we have talked many times about how much we absolutely adore our guitars. I am literally like forever grateful that I decided, I guess it's been 16 years ago, to learn the guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been life-changing for me. I actually did a LinkedIn post about this maybe a couple months ago, which was kind of like not typical of me. I think it was one of my very few LinkedIn posts that was personal. But the reason, well, personal, but at the same time, it did have a little bit of a business twist because the reason I posted it is I was trying to share with my audience that my guitar helps me so much in terms of this term we hear so much of work-life balance. Like if I'm having a really busy day, back-to-back Zooms, lots of presentations, a lot of, kind of high pressure things I need to do in a short amount of time, if I can factor in even 10, 15, ideally 30 minutes or more to just go in the other room and start playing the guitar, I feel like I come back to my desk more energized, rejuvenated, more focused, and more productive. So
Yes.
that for me, the guitar for me, the piano as well, but nothing in my opinion compares to the guitar. It's just for me. But I feel like that has helped me. That one instrument has helped me a lot with just my focus and my productivity. But I think running is another way. I'm an avid runner. So there's so many different techniques I think that people use and with that they find that works for them.
Yeah. And it all involves your body. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Cynthia. Hold tight. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Look for the Good. We are having this incredible conversation. Cynthia, you are just a wealth of information, and I love what we're talking about is you and I both love our guitars and how bringing, something like that into your life decreases stress, right? Because we're not only getting our minds off of things, but we're involving our bodies, which is why running, we both like to walk a lot. And I love what you said about, I can just get out of this office if I'm stuck on something or I'm feeling overwhelmed, go walk for a half hour, 45 minutes, come back. And like you said, have a completely fresh outlook. Like that's the only way I would have written my book, right? 13 chapters, but you got to start at one, right? It's like overwhelming. So this is really important. Talk about why this is so important in business and creativity or whatever it is your thing that you can bring your body into getting your mind to stop overthinking and overstressing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so important in the business world as well. I mean, so many studies have proven, right, that when employees are either burned out, stressed out, or depressed, whatever it is, they're just not going to be productive. So that's kind of the business case for corporate wellness. And there's been a lot of studies to prove that. And I think more and more companies and employers and leaders are recognizing the importance of employee wellness and trying to really encourage their creativity in various ways. I know one of the companies that I was recently talking with does a lot of really interesting kind of activities with their employees. Like they have different challenges. I think they had like a drawing kind of competition where they asked the employees to all draw different pictures and they had the employees share their pictures. And it was just a way, kind of like a team building exercise, but also a way to really try and foster creativity in their employees. And I think a lot of studies have proven as well that when people are engaging in things like drawing, painting, some kind of creative outlet, their depression and anxiety decrease. I do a lot of workshops for women who are struggling with infertility and pregnancy loss. And they tell me that what they're finding is when they do things such as painting or music or something that is creative, their depression and their anxiety is lifted. I also do a lot of work with seniors. And they say the same thing. Some of them are doing things like pottery, and it's just really exciting to see. And I can see that they're feeling a little lighter when they're doing these things.
I love that. Martha Beck, Martha Beck is Oprah's coach, like one of the world renowned coaches,
Yeah.
wrote a book, Creativity is the Antidote to Stress,
Oh, I love that. That is
right?
so good.
Filled with research and all that, everything you're talking about. So it's just it's powerful, right? It's not
I
just us,
love
it's
that.
research backed because you're also, engaging your right brain, especially when you're talking about music, right? Now you're engaging your left and your right, both
Oh, for
hemispheres, right?
sure.
It's one of those
Definitely.
few activities that are full brain functioning, right? Which is why I loved and I made my kids both, learn instruments when they were younger.
Yes, me too.
Right?
Exactly for that very reason.
Yes, it's so
It's so
good. It's
true. I know.
so
Because
good.
don't you feel like many kids nowadays just don't really have that creative outlet like we used to
Yeah.
have when we were younger?
Totally. Are you
We
kidding?
would just go outside and build a fort and And
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, geez, they're on their screens, right? Although I
I
have to say,
know.
I'm super proud of my son. I'll give him a plug. So last summer, he decided to build, along with, I think there was 10 other boys, they built it's basically a shack. They call it a shack, but it has electricity. It can fit maybe 15 people. It has
Wow.
windows. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. But the thing I was most happy about, Carrie, was he was being creative. It was a
Yes.
lot to create this shack.
Yeah.
And it took him all summer. It was hours and hours of work. I'll send you a picture sometime. Pretty
Yeah.
impressive. It really
I
was.
love that. I
Yeah,
love
and I
it.
love that he was using his creative juices.
Totally. And think about all the skills that go into that: team building, problem
Oh,
solving,
exactly.
right? Never mind the
Exactly.
physical nature of it, the planning, the execution, how are we going to do this, supply management. It's like building a business. He was building the shack. And
That's exactly what it
yeah,
was.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
and when he was interviewed at Babson, he basically talked about that. He described all of those things, how it was basically a business model, everything you just
Yep.
described, the team building, the financial aspect of it all. Super interesting
Yeah,
and
love
creative
it.
too.
And creative. And that's the kind
So
of stuff
awesome.
you and I did as kids. We didn't know we were doing it. We're outside organizing a
Totally.
game of flashlight tag. You got to have problem solving. You got to have emotional control. You got to have all those
Totally.
things. That's where we learn team building. And we just learned it right
Exactly.
naturally. So they're going about
Exactly.
it a different way. But I love that. I love
Oh
that,
yeah.
that he
Yeah.
did that.
What about
Yeah.
the days we just went on the beach and built a sandcastle?
Right?
Right? Something as simple as
Yes.
that, just
Yeah.
building a sandcastle on the beach. I
Yeah.
love when I see that.
I love that
When I
too.
see, a toddler
Yeah.
just doing something so simple.
So beautiful. Yeah. And I remember taking like this is okay, I'm dating myself. We had home ec classes.
Okay, yeah.
Right. And like
I
we learned
remember
how to
those.
sew the pillow. Remember that? I loved that. I got turned on to
Yes.
baking from home ec classes. We got our own stove and stuff. It was like super cool. Um,
Yeah.
and so I would go home and I would make some of the recipes that we would make, and that became a thing, right? And then, I mean, it's the
Hmm.
reason I can make a killer pie. I could probably compete in any pie. I can make a pie crust
Ooh.
homemade, like that's my thing. Like I was the
Oh,
pie
wow. I
girl,
might call you
right?
at Thanksgiving next year, Carrie. I'm
Absolutely.
not a pie baker.
Most people get a little intimidated by the dough, but because I grew up making like 10 pies, we had a big family and all the
Wow.
relatives came to our house. So I was on pie duty.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Right. So I took that skill and it just became this creativity thing. And one of my daughters loves to bake now too, and she sings. So I'm like, you should create your own YouTube
Oh,
show like the Singing Baker, right?
yes. Oh, I love that. She
So
should.
it's right, it's using social media, but it's also using creativity, right? And their
Yes.
some of their superpowers. So there's a way to do that. There's a way to get around that and create that. I love that what your son was doing. That's super cool. Of course he used it for his college essay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
awesome. So and you're still playing even though you had the arm injury, right? You told me that you're still playing.
Still playing, yes. It's going pretty well. I mean, I feel like I'm a little bit of a setback on account of the injury,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty happy with my progress, and I'm in a good spot in that the pain is minimal, and
Oh,
I
good.
still get amazing joy out of playing the guitar, as I know you do too. And one day I think we have to play guitar together, Carrie.
Yes, we so have to do that. That would be so fun. And I'm in the midst of I'm back to writing a little bit again. And it's
Nice.
it's so rejuvenating. And, I'd been thinking about just life. And my husband turned 60. And when my dad died, he was only 62. So I
Oh,
really
right. That
started,
means lots.
hitting home
Mm.
wow, like he didn't know that, he was like, when he turned 60, that he would only have 2 years left to live. Like, it just
Yeah.
makes you think about life differently. Like,
Oh,
how,
100%.
right? Like, what would we do? I kept asking my husband, probably driving him crazy. What would you do? What would you do differently if you knew in 2 years that was it for you, right?
Oh my gosh.
A
Such a
morbid
powerful
thought, but
question.
it's real. Because it
It is
makes
real.
you right think about your life differently.
No
So
question.
I had been thinking, right, and thinking about all this stuff, and I woke up at like 4:30, and just it came on me, this new song about all this, like, and
Oh,
what
I
my
would
dad
love to
would
hear
say.
that.
I'm still working on it.
Yeah, when you're done with that, please let me
I
know.
would
That would be
love.
amazing to hear that.
Oh, thank you. And I feel like as if it was like a message. I haven't told
Yeah.
anybody else about this, but like it was a message coming from him to me. So it's really
Oh,
powerful song. Yeah.
That is so powerful.
Yeah, so that's my creativity,
Wow.
and I love the writing piece of it. And so I love that's like a writer's moment when you get that full inspiration that just comes to you. It's like a beautiful gift, you know?
I agree.
Yeah.
It is so powerful.
So good. So good. So I love all the work that you're doing. I love how you're bringing creativity and different ways to think and changing people's perspectives. You have so many arms to what you do in your business. It's truly beautiful and admirable, and you're constantly working on yourself and getting new certifications. And I'm so impressed with what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing for the
Oh,
world and the workplace.
thank you, Carrie. That's so nice of you to say. And right back at you. You're doing such incredible work, and your book is phenomenal, and your radio show, your podcast, everything about you is just amazing. I'm so grateful for the chamber, the fact that we got to meet.
Me too. And that's an amazing chamber. And little
It
shout out
is.
to Karen. She came on my show. You got to listen to
Oh,
her episode. It's
oh,
really,
I have to
really
listen to her
good.
episode. I didn't know she was in your show. I'd love to listen to that.
Oh, she came on my show. It's a really beautiful episode. Get a tissue ready. It's really good.
Oh, great. I will definitely do
Yeah.
that. That's on my to-do list this week for sure.
I love it. And we started talking about community, and we're going to end talking about community because that is community, guys. So if you
100%.
right, if you're feeling like, you're working all the time too much, join a chamber. You can meet the
Oh,
most
100%.
incredible, right, people there.
Incredible people. I was just out with my referral group last night at Neighborhood Tavern in Northborough. So much fun. I had a meeting this morning with someone else. It's just incredible, incredible networking
Yeah.
and just great social. It's everything about it is fantastic.
Yeah, there's so many. It's amazing too, how it just exponentially affects you, not personally, business wise. I have a friend
Yes.
who's a speaker that she talks about nothing but networking, right? Because it is so powerful. It can change your life. The people you meet, she says, can change your life. And it is really
Oh,
so
no
true.
question.
Yeah.
So true. I
So true.
know.
So
It's been
thank you so
amazing.
much for coming on the show. And where can they find your website to find out more about you?
So it's workwellwebinars.com is how you
Awesome.
find me on my website. And
Awesome. And maybe you'll find us out playing guitar somewhere together.
oh, I like that idea too. Definitely.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
I
Thank you
like that.
again for coming on the show. This has been amazing. I know everybody's gotten a lot of gems of gold from you. So thank you for coming on the show, Cynthia.
Thank you so much for having me, Kara. I really appreciate it. And I love your show. So I'm honored that you asked me to be one of your guests.
Oh, thank you so much. And remember, everybody, it is never too late to live your best story. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.